Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DG94 with another NBA reaction video. And today, Chris Paul will sign with the Houston Rockets, but they're going to do a sign and trade. They're going to let Chris Paul sign with the Rockets, but the Clippers will get Patrick Beverly, which I thought was dumb right out the gate. That was a dumb move right out the gate. Sam Decker and Lou Will. So Lou Will is going right back to LA, but he's going to the Clippers though. Just when the Lakers started to get it going, bruh. Just when the Lakers were starting to get it going, and now the Clippers on the decline. I feel sorry for Lou Will, but anyways though, we got this right here. Let's watch the breaking news on ESPN. Alright, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
The Rockets have reached an agreement on a trade for the Clippers CP3. Rockets send Sam Decker, Patrick Beverly, and Lou Will.
Carry champion, little sexy ass though. Give me 3.5 minutes, maybe even 4.
I wish I could say I'm surprised. I'm really not. You were hopeful because you know
Carry champion
loves Los Angeles. But like Mark and Ramona Shelburne, they've been all
get her ass with the Melvin, nigga. Fuck you mean?
Take it. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh, I love to ride.
The African squat fuck. Oh, nigga squat fuck.
We've seen the situation in Los Angeles.
Her and Jamel Hill. Her and Jamel Hill. I'm not
the greatest. I mean, they get along to some degree, but trust me, Chris Paul wasn't about being hesitant.
Her and Jamel Hill. I beat the brakes off that ass, man.
It could be in Cleveland with this guy LeBron James, but from what I'm hearing, that wasn't going to materialize because Dan Gilbert made the move, you know, to let go of David Griffin, and as a result, you didn't have a real GM working those phones and making sure things happen. And so your second alternative option was Houston. And this is what's going on here. Chris Paul's willingness to go to Houston is not just about James Harden. It's also about the possibility that Carmelo will go there. Because if Carmelo Anthony receives the buyout that he desires to get, which Phil Jackson, by the way, was willing to give him, and James Dolan was not. If Carmelo Anthony coaxes James Dolan into giving him a buyout, I'm being told that Carmelo Anthony may very well go to Houston. He and Chris Paul are very, very tight, and they wouldn't mind being in Houston with James Harden at all because they believe that kind of firepower is what it's going to take to knock off the Golden State Warriors. So this move by Chris Paul could very well be, you know, just an indication of things to come. This may not be the last move that they make. They don't have but so much to trade if you're Houston. Now that you've given away Decker and Lou Williams and Patrick Beverly, who I'm a huge fan of, but you also could position yourself to get, you don't have any cap room or anything like that, but if MELO pulls off getting waived by the New York Knicks, getting bought out of his contract, he will go to Houston in all likelihood, joining Chris Paul and James Harden. That's what I've been hearing over the last hour.
All right, Stephen A., so help me break this down, because when we first heard about the possibility of CP3 going to the Rockets, we thought, well, listen, James Harden had a standout year, an MVP year at the point, so how do the two now coexist, in your opinion?
Very simple. There isn't a point guard alive that is not going to defer to Chris Paul, the point guard. You may defer in other ways, you may not defer in other ways, but as a point guard, you will not hesitate to defer to Chris Paul. In terms of a floor orchestrator, somebody who literally runs the show, there's nobody better than Chris Paul. So whether it's LeBron, MELO, James Harden, or anybody else, nobody has a problem with stepping away from the point guard spot if they have the ability to score, that is. They have no problem stepping away from the point guard spot and handing the ball to Chris Paul because they know Chris Paul knows how to run a team, and they know that Chris Paul is going to get them the ball and take immense pressure. And if you're James Harden, especially so, because if you remember, no matter how electrifying he looked throughout this year, averaging 29, 11, and 8, leading the league in assists.
He a choker at the end of the day. That nigga be choking, bro.
The playoffs against San Antonio was emblematic and indicative of a man who was incredibly exhausted from having to handle ball playmaking responsibilities as long as being the primary scorer. He looked completely spent and out of it And I think D'Antoni recognizes that, which is why D'Antoni and Daryl Morey obviously have no problem whatsoever with Chris Paul being their new point guard.
All right, so then talk me through this, because you wanted to talk about Jerry West some weeks ago coming to the Clippers and what it would mean for the Clippers. They bring him there, and due in large part to help them get over the hump. They lose CP3. What does that say to us about the relationship that perhaps Chris Paul had with that organization, and what does that mean for Jerry West now, an advisor to the Clippers, brought in from Golden State?
Well, first of all, it wasn't necessarily a bad relationship, but at the end of the day, the greatness of Chris Paul was stained by the fact that he's never played in a conference finals, let alone an NBA finals. And listen, Chris Paul is all about winning. This man has an attitude. He is a pit bull. When he loses, he is absolutely positively miserable. And he will not hesitate to tell you why he thinks he's losing. And so you take that into consideration. At times, he and Doc Rivers were not on the same page, according to what I'm hearing. We all know Doc Rivers to be a great coach and a champion. But if the Los Angeles Clippers were so pleased with Doc Rivers, Jerry West wouldn't be there. Jerry West is there because Steve Ballmer obviously thinks something needs to be done to modify circumstances to such a degree. So now here you are. You keep Blake Griffin. You keep a DeAndre Jordan. You have a Patrick Beverly and a Louis Williams and a Sam Decker. So you get three bodies for one. Do you have the playmaker that is Chris Paul? No. But you do have two very quality players in Patrick Beverly and Lou Williams, one on offense, one definitely on defense. Sam Decker is no scrub, and you have those additional bodies which adds depth to your roster where you're not at the mercy of just your starting five, which by and large people looked at the Clippers as being. Yeah, Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford came off the bench, but that wasn't deemed as a viable bench in terms of the Clippers organization. And because of that, they knew they needed to add bodies, and they were hell-bent on making sure that they didn't lose Chris Paul for nothing. So this served both sides, even though I'm of the belief that Chris Paul is sensational as a point guard, and that's a devastating loss for the Clippers no matter which way you slice it.
Well, y'all saw it. Y'all heard it, man.
The Rockets have...
Kerry Champion, a little sexy ass, you know. I'll be all up in there. Knock the Miss Polka, when you go let me fuck. But anyways, though, man, y'all saw it, man. Y'all heard it, man. Chris Paul is officially going to the Houston Rockets in the sign and trade for Patrick Beverly, Sam Decker, and Lou Will. What does this mean for the LA Clippers? It's over, bruh. The dynasty is over. Nobody knows the status of Blake Griffin right now. Blake Griffin has not been contacted. Nobody knows what Blake Griffin's decision is. I said his best two options are the Miami Heat or the San Antonio Spurs. One of the two, bro. One of the two is his best option because, like, I really feel like his career could get back on track if he was under a good coach that could utilize his talent and potential. And Eric Spoelstra, he can do that. Greg Popovich, we know he can do that. Like, you could do a sign and trade and give away LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge has not shown up for the Spurs. So you could definitely get rid of LaMarcus Aldridge and put him in a system with the Clippers. Well, I feel like that situation would work out. And the Clippers would still benefit from it because they would have LaMarcus Aldridge, Patrick Beverly, Lou Will. They still got DeAndre Jordan. That team would still be a playoff contender. They would probably fall down a few spots, probably 6 or 7 seed at best. I wouldn't give them 8 seed because that team still has enough talent to succeed in the West. But this team with the Houston Rockets, though. Now, MELO is not the only guy they're going after. Let me repeat that. MELO's not the only guy they're going after. But if the scenario plays out where they buy out MELO's, where the Knicks buy out MELO's contract and let him go, he's going to the Houston Rockets. There's no question. He will go to the Houston Rockets, go play with Chris Paul. But if that doesn't work out and he decides to stay with the Knicks, Paul George is the next move. So Paul George going to the Houston Rockets, that's the next best move. I don't know what that move would do for the Houston Rockets, because Paul George is still on the side of trying to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. But if things pan out the way that I think they should pan out in Houston, if Houston does good enough, like they make it to the conference finals and they lose in 7 games, and they lose in a game 7, but it was close and it was down to the wire and it went to overtime and they almost came over the hump of beating the Golden State Warriors, because I don't think that team can beat the Golden State Warriors, but if they build the chemistry up the right way, there's no telling how far that team can go with James Harden, Paul George, Chris Paul. Then you still got that bench and Mike D'Antoni's offense. The possibilities are endless, but the chemistry just has to be there. That's the thing. I think your best way to beat the Golden State Warriors is if you have chemistry. If you don't have chemistry, 9 times out of 10, the Warriors are going to stump on you. So you have to have chemistry. And that's the one thing that you're going to have to fix immediately if you're trying to beat the Warriors now, if I'm the Houston Rockets. So hopefully they get that out the way. Hopefully that fixes everything. But yeah, man, tell me what y'all think about this all in the comment section below. Do y'all think this is going to help beat the Warriors? Do you think that this is the move? Do you think that who do you think would benefit them more, Paul George or Chris, or who do you think? What do you think is a more realistic scenario? Paul George going there via trade, or MELO getting bought out of his contract by the Knicks and he goes to Houston? Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Which scenario plays out better, and how would those scenarios work out with MELO on that team versus Paul George being on that team? So y'all tell me in the comment section below. Also tell me what y'all think about where Blake Griffin stands in all this right now. So yeah, get active in the comment section, man. I'll get back to y'all. Till then, peace out.